I spent a lifetime, it seems, decades, that is, studying the Torah, the prophets, the writings, the Jesus narrative from so many different angles through so many different kinds of hermeneutics. This did improve my life to a certain degree, and yet I can see lots and lots of negatives at the same time. So the question would be to you, Ozzy, how can I become a better person? How can I acquire a better moral understanding today? I want to be so much better than I am now. How does that take place?
I don't know that you're asking the right person.
Come on, talk to me.
I'm someone who's interested in
improve me, Ozzy.
I don't know that I can. I'm someone who's interested in moral questions and the nature of morality. I think as a philosophical question, it's fascinating. And of course, like everybody else, I have a vested interest in understanding morality and being a good person. Practically everyone thinks that they're doing the best that they can, right? No matter how rotten the job they're doing. Everyone thinks that they're doing okay. Or at least has a reason why they think that an exception needed to be made in the case that they did something horrible or something like that. So the fact that I'm interested in this philosophical subject shouldn't be understood by anyone to imply that I think that because I have studied this a bit that this puts me in a better moral position than anybody else. I mean, this is an embarrassing fact, that you can study morality and moral philosophies your whole life, and it doesn't make you a more moral person. Because I don't think the motivation or the capacity to be more moral stems from having, surveyed the landscape of different moral philosophies. I don't think it works that way. You can study, human kinetics and physiology your whole life, but it's not going to make you a better hockey player. Right, you got to get out there and you got to play hockey, and so I don't have any advice. I have no good practical advice to give anyone on how to be a moral person, except to do this. Just try to think about the predictable consequences of your actions, right, on the well-being of other people. Think in terms of harm and well-being, right? And there are all these things that we've all been told by our mothers, put yourself in the other person's shoes, right?
Yeah.
And things like that, right? Look at the beam in your own eye before you point out a speck in the other. I mean, all of this is all about getting yourself to leap out of the barrier of yourself, right, and into another person. Why? Because what morality is about how to live with other people, right? And the moral discourse wouldn't arise if we all lived on our own separate planets and we couldn't interact with one another, right? Or if you were the only person alive, right? Moral questions really wouldn't arise. Right? The questions arise because we live with other people, and what's relevant about other people is that there's something that it's like to be them. So really, what you have to do is exercise your imaginative faculties. One of the things, if I had one practical tip, it would be this: read good literature. And watch really good films that present characters very realistically with rich inner lives, that afford you some insight into their inner lives, that makes you feel for them. And that, I think, works. I mean, I was once asked, who's the greatest psychologist? I used to be a psychology student. I was once asked, who's the greatest psychologist in the world? And I said, without hesitation, George Eliot. Right, this fantastic 19th century female writer. She went by a pseudonym, George Eliot. She wrote a number of great English masterpieces, one of which is called Middlemarch. Right, and when I read that book, I remember thinking I would be terrified to meet this woman, because this woman understands the human psyche so well that if I were to talk to her, and if there were any artifice in me, she would see through it like a laser. I would feel raw and exposed. I would be humiliated. Right. Great art, great literature, great film and theater, I think, has the ability to put you into situations, put you into the soul of another person that you could never do through your own exercise of imagination. So, I mean, that would be it. Just try to put yourself in the mind of another person. And it's often impossible to do that through the exercise of your own imagination. And I think art is the next best thing that we've got. In fact, it's even better than the exercise of your own imagination, because you're not limited to your own narrow first-person experience. You get the benefit of the experience of other people.
That touched me. I mean, I can see in your eyes when you were sharing this. I mean, you really care. You really care about humanity. You really want to see people improving their lives. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I mean, I care about humanity. I've reached an age now. It's really funny. I've crossed the threshold past 50 now. And one of the things that happens when you feel that you are sort of closer to the end than you are to the beginning, you're filled with a greater sense of tragedy. It's tragic events in people's lives. When I hear that some young person has undertaken a decision or a course in their life that's got them on rails to some disastrous outcome, and you see it, you know that it's going to unfold badly for them and stuff like that. When you hear about these sorts of things, I get choked up, and I cry more easily and stuff like that. I'm more mushy than I ever used to be. And it's simply because as you get older, you realize I only get one kick at the can. I don't get to come back, and I don't get a do-over. And it means something to me that people are going to not live fantastic lives. I wish I had lived a better life than I had. And I wish, I mean, there's, if you could go back and give yourself advice and you could convince yourself to listen to the things that you would say.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of young people in my life. I'm involved in certain activities where there's a lot of young people, and I feel I'm overflowing with kind of avuncular impulses where I want to take them aside and coach them, and I'm in no position to do anything of the sort. But yeah, I care. And I think we care more as we get older. And I think it's particularly pronounced for me. That is, I'm noticing it more in myself because I didn't have kids. When you have kids, you have skin in the game in a way that someone who's childless like me doesn't, right? So for me, this is something that has kind of caught me off guard late in life, right? And I'm sort of filled with a sense of tragedy when I see, oh shoot, life could be so much better. We could all just do so much better by being less selfish and less self-interested and so forth. Yeah, so good movies and good books. That's what I would recommend. Good theater.
Wow. That's rich. That we human beings, we need to be inspired. And I think we can listen to people like Ozzy and be so inspired. I don't know about you, but tonight has really touched me. I think that, I'm sitting here learning, and this is the thing that I want to do in life. I want people to hear from a person like Ozzy, a person like you, Stephen, a person like Bob Graves and others, because I think that we can make a difference that is in each other's lives. I mean, this is how it works. It's coming together, doing something that raises the bar of compassionism, that raises the bar of humanism. And why are we fighting? Why are we warring against each other? Why is this a debate? Why isn't this nurturing? I don't know. We're going to end the show with this question to Ozzy. What inspires and fulfills Ozzy?
Oh dear. I don't know how much it has to do with morality. It's rather orthogonal. I love the outdoors. I love nature. I love camping. I love canoeing. I love practicing bushcraft and hiking and snowshoeing, and that really moves me. I like being out there doing, practicing dirt time. My paws in the dirt, and that really does a lot for me. I find that incredibly restorative. I feel like I'm sort of in touch with my ancestors, and I feel sort of connected to living things, and it's as close as I ever get to a spiritual or religious experience, but it's pretty profound. I don't know what part it plays in moral reasoning, except to say that I feel like the circle of my concern and compassion grows when I'm out in the natural world, when I'm away from all the artifice and cell phones and cars and streets and all of that, when I'm just in the Canadian bush, or trudging across snow or something like that and building a snow shelter, or something like that, starting a fire by primitive means. That, I don't know. It's a weird thing. It's idiosyncratic, but it does a lot for me. That really inspires me. It restores me. And when I go back and back in town with friends and family, uh, I feel like a different person. I feel like a better person. But that's just me. I don't know that I would recommend that to everyone. I mean, I do recommend it to everyone, but I don't, not for moral reasons.